before tonight's game, I want to talk to you all a little bit about some sports and history. And I want to talk to you about one of the teams that made America the proudest ever in the history of national athletics. In 1980, there was a group of young college kids that decided they were going to try out for the national hockey team. Back in the 1980s and the 70s, you still had to be an amateur athlete, unless you were from an Eastern Bloc country like Russia. Russia had won 5 of the last 6 gold medals in the Olympics. They had won 4 straight. They essentially were led by an entire group of professional players that were in their mid-30s. This ragtag group of kids from places like the University of Minnesota, University of Michigan, North Dakota, Boston College. These kids came together and they had 0 chance of even medaling in the Olympics. This was a group of non-professional, unseasoned young men who were going to be playing against the best of the best in a sport that we're not tremendously great at. What you have to understand is at the time that this happened, there were hostages, American hostages that had been taken in Iran. There was a lot of concern about politics and society. There was a lot of things going on that worried everyone around the United States of what was going to happen next. Sounds very similar to what we have today. The hostages were released on the day that Ronald Reagan was actually inaugurated. And on February 9th, they played their last exhibition game against this Russian team. This team of old grizzly veterans. Every one of them had facial hair that looked like they had come straight out of Siberia. And they played it in Madison Square Garden. This was going to be the exhibition game that proved whether the Americans were ready at all for the Olympics. In front of a national televised crowd, the United States hockey team lost that game 10-3. This is February 9th. It's 1 week before their first game in Lake Placid, New York, where the Olympics were being held. During that tournament, they had had some fairly significant surprise victories and ties. They had tied Sweden, which was always a dominant force in hockey, and they had upset Czechoslovakia, who they were not supposed to beat as well. And somehow they made it into the medal round, but waiting for them in the semifinals of the tournament was this Russian team. But before that game, you have to understand that these are still college kids. Kids who are not much older than you guys are. These are kids who were facing astronomical odds. They had no chance to win. In fact, if you had had all the money in the world, you would have put it on the Russian team. 13 days prior, they had lost to this team 10-3 in a hockey game, a shortened hockey game at that. Just moments before the team took the ice, the American coach was a guy by the name of Herb Brooks. Herb Brooks, who is one of the finest hockey coaches in all of the world, and became renowned for his fire on the bench. But before that tournament game, Herb Brooks came into the locker room where a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids were sitting. And you could see it in their eyes that they were scared. You could see it in their eyes that they didn't know if they could win. Actually, they could see in their eyes that they knew they could not win. And Herb Brooks gave one of the most iconic sports speeches ever. And I'm going to paraphrase what Herb Brooks said, but I'm going to make it for you guys because I think it's important that you realize how important your success is, not only to your school, but to your community and your families. Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. This season, fellas, this season right here, the season that your coach said was one filled with youth but talent. This happens to be your opportunity. What you have earned, that is what you have earned. No one else. You have earned
3
more games. If we played the next 3 games 10 times each, those other opponents, someone would knock you out. But this year, not this season, this year, we play football the way you guys were born to play it, as champions. This year, we don't just stay close or hope for moral victories. We dominate each side of the ball. Offense, defense, special teams. We do not have lapses in judgment or forget our assignments. We stay focused. And we as the Flyer Nation, who will back each of you young men, we will shut each of those so-called better teams, historic programs, we will shut them down because we can. You men can. This season, you fellas, you are the greatest high school football team in the Commonwealth of Kentucky's century of football powerhouses. You were born to be football players. You were born to be Flyers, every one of you. And you were meant to be here this season. I don't believe in luck. I believe we are exactly where we are supposed to be in the vastness of time and space. And you, each of you, were supposed to be right here, right now. This is your time. This is your time. It's no one else's. This year, this is your season to break through. The Danvilles, the Boyle Counties, the Cormans, their time is done. It's over. I am sick and tired of hearing about what great football teams they have. You Flyers are the best that ever played this game. At this very moment, you are the greatest. This is your time. Now, go out there and you take what is rightfully yours. You earned it. You know what to do. You know how to execute. You bring back that state title and you bring it to its new home, Titletown. And you accept nothing else. 2 days later, that U.S. team had to actually play in a gold medal match because somehow they upset the Russians 4-3. It's called the Miracle on Ice. But yet they still had one more game to play. Imagine if they had done all that and they didn't finish off a team from Finland that they needed to defeat to win the gold medal. Herb Brooks looked at each of the men at the end of the second period when they were down 2-1, and he looked at each of one of them and he said, if you lose this game, if you go out there and you do not play your best and you lose this game, you will regret this night for the rest of your life. You will regret everything that happens tonight for the rest of your life until you're old men. You will regret not taking care of business. The Americans went out and they won the gold medal that year as the ultimate underdogs. You guys can't claim to be ultimate underdogs anymore, even though every year they look at you and they say, maybe they're the fourth best in 4A. Maybe they're the third best. They're too young. They don't have enough talent. They don't have any skill players. Their quarterback, he was a backup. Their wide receiver, he was their quarterback last year. Their running back, he's a junior. He only has 750 yards rushing. They don't know what you all have held back. And they don't know that within each one of you Flyers, is a heart of a champion. But after the next
3 games,
everyone will know. Go Flyers.
Getting in the line.